What's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars. Today, we're taking a look at Hubie Halloween. I know, I'm a little bit late on this, but to be fair, I schedule my reviews way out in advance, so as I speak, it's still October for me, so I actually got to see this before Halloween for what it's worth. Adam Sandler is an interesting character. Apart from a few winners here and there, a lot of people just don't like a majority of what he does, and I'll admit I've often found myself rolling my eyes at the news of yet another Adam Sandler flick, especially if it's found on Netflix. Even so, I still think I appreciate a lot of what he does, more so than the typical audience member. I've heard both good and bad things surrounding Hubie Halloween, just as I typically hear the same for any other Adam Sandler movie, but no matter if it's good or bad, no film should bring in the amount of supercilious contempt that often follows Sandler around. Let's get cracking. This review is brought to you by the word of the day, supercilious. Haughtily disdainful or contemptuous. Hubie Halloween focuses on Hubie Dubois, a selfless Salem native that vows to make sure that everybody is protected and safe on Halloween night, even though he is easily scared. This year seems to be a little bit more difficult than normal because a dangerous man has escaped from an insane asylum and is headed straight for Salem. Not only that, but Hubie's own neighbor seems to be off in one way or another. Can Hubie and his super thermos do what's needed to survive this year's Halloween? So I've seen, a lot of hate for this movie and some praise. That's basically to be expected because 1, it's a Netflix original movie. 2, it's an Adam Sandler movie, and 3, it's a comedy, and comedies are among the most subjective genres in general, so regardless on what people said about it, I knew that what I experienced with it would be different than anybody else. I hope for the best anyway. Now, I'm a rare breed of humans that have never really liked a lighter Halloween film, whether it be a family film like Halloween Town, Hocus Pocus, or the like, or something like Hubie Halloween, which isn't as light as those, but it's far from dark. So I was predisposed to not immediately love it. But truth be told, I did enjoy it. I did, and I think that mostly has to do with the cast and the slapstick humor. That brought me way back to the late 90s, early 2000s with Adam Sandler specifically, who once again brought back his lisp thing. Now, I didn't know if it would work that much for a now 54-year-old, but I think it was mostly nostalgia because we haven't heard it in a really long time, so I did like that part of it. I also liked that the movie had just a pinch of heart. The whole film revolves around a man that lives with the highest held integrity that all of us in 2020 can inspire to do as well. He constantly does the right thing, whether or not anybody's paying attention, and that's just the thing. In all his life, he has never been taken seriously. Instead, he's often seen as the annoying guy. Even the police in town know that he's often right about a lot of stuff, but they just think he's so annoying that it doesn't matter. I also think that Hubie is a pretty good character, made better still by his ridiculous super thermos that can apparently do anything. It's a flashlight, it's a grappling hook, a pepper spray, candle, telescope, and, I don't know what else. It's basically Batman's entire utility belt wrapped into one, and yeah, it's dumb, it's stupid, but I had a good time finding out what else it can do throughout the movie. I also mentioned that I liked the cast, and I did. This was like an Adam Sandler and Friends Endgame film. They're all in there, and more keep popping up throughout the film. That doesn't necessarily make any of the cast feel like they're born to feel their respective roles. Some do, some don't. But the interesting thing about that is, at this point, you kind of expect to see certain faces when you watch an Adam Sandler comedy, and if you don't, you might get disappointed. All I'm saying is you will not be disappointed with the cast of this film. That's all I'm saying. That being said, this film does have some major issues with storytelling and plot progression. I couldn't really tell what it was about. Was it about the psychopath that just escaped from the insane asylum? Was it about Hubie's next door neighbor? Was it about his crush on the hottie in town? Was it about the other masked menace that we see stalking people? Honestly, what's it about? I mean, you got Hubie bouncing from place to place to place trying to do the right thing, but none of it really has a common denominator other than Hubie himself, and when it has such a disjointed story, it's hard to stay focused as an audience member, and it's especially hard to care about certain details and certain characters. Now, I liked the certain shout-outs to some horror films like Halloween, Scream, and maybe it's because I just watched the entire series, but I feel like I saw some Fright Night in there as well. All that's pretty cool, and maybe that was the point, but a story is only as good as its characters, and the characters are only as good as the story, and one thing without the other is sometimes a problem. That's why at the end of the day, I think this movie's fine. It's definitely safe and certainly comedic at times, but it's far from anything special that you'll be dying to watch again. I do think it's slightly possible that some people will add this to their list of films to watch every year in October, but it's definitely not for everybody. Let's go ahead and talk about my final score. From an unbiased technical level, I gotta say that this movie was mostly, business as usual. It made some interesting choices here and there for costume and makeup, and like I said, the character of Hubie isn't bad, but the story is lacking, which brought down the technical score to 66%. My bias score slightly lower at 64% because this isn't exactly the kind of movie that I immediately want to see again, nor own, nor really recommend. It's fun for what it is, but it's mostly just average. When we average out the two scores together, we come to the final rating of 65%, 65 out of 100 possible stars, or a D-letter grade. As far as Netflix is concerned, I mean, this is pretty much business as usual. I rarely love what Netflix gives us, so I wasn't outright disappointed. In fact, I did have a good time while watching it. I just don't think it's the best Halloween movie that exists. I would like to hear what you guys have to say about Hubie Halloween in the comment section down below, though. Did this slapstick comedy work for you? As for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this review, because there's always more like it coming out each and every single day. Hit the subscribe button and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, guys, peace out.
Dave examines movies we just watch for fun. Davey is the expert. He is the #1 critic that I go to when I need a movie pick. Thanks for joining up with us.